What's up guys, Best and West here, and today I'm going to be talking about my Kingdom Cup observations. I know I haven't come out with a battle video in a while, but that hasn't stopped me from getting some practice battles in for the upcoming Kingdom Cup. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about what I've observed with practicing with the available meta to me, and hopefully you guys can take out of it. But without further ado, let's get to the first slide. I have 4 of the most important Pokemon in this meta. Now you have Bastiodon, Altaria, Lapras, and Lucario. I think all of these Pokemon, if they aren't accounted for, can run through almost any team. Like, one of these Pokemon can sweep a whole team depending on like situations, right? So you need some kind of counter to make sure that that doesn't happen. Now, the one Pokemon that doesn't is probably Lapras. It counters and does neutral damage to a lot of Pokemon. So it's my favorite for this cup. I think Lapras is kind of understated. The hype for Lucario and Bastiodon are so high because it's the first time that we can use them in a cup. But make sure you have a good Lapras on your team, and yeah, you'll be fine. Also, Altaria is also a beast. We already know this from Tempest Cup. We already know this from like General Great League, but it does a ton of damage even in bad matchups. So make sure you get a good Altaria as well. I think even outside of this cup, it's gonna pay dividends to have one. So might as well get one now, test it out, find out how good it is, and then come back and tell me, Best, Altaria was amazing. Thank you for recommending it. But let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so this next slide is the Pokemon that are currently available to me. These are the different Pokemon that I've actually tested other than Bronzong. I just got a Bronzer. I don't think I'm going to be using it. I do have 6 Pokemon that I'm kind of working with right now. I'm testing. I've had some pretty good, you know, results with my practice battles. So I think I'm going to stick with those. But this is the available meta in my opinion, or the available meta to me. Pretty much you can see here, and if I'm missing something, that's just because I don't have it available to me. But yeah, you guys can see this. There's a ton of other resources, Game Press, I don't know, a bunch of other YouTubers. So right here you can see that I grouped each Pokemon in that last slide into different categories: fast, charge, and kind of in between, where both the fast and charge moves are effective. So on the left side, we have Pokemon that I feel rely on their fast move. We have Bastiodon, Bronzong, Blaziken, and Kingdra. So Bastiodon, it more relies on its bulk, but because it's so bulky, its fast attacks can deal a large amount of damage, because its 2 charge moves take forever to charge, and that fast move is Smackdown. So because of its bulk, it doesn't do that much damage with Smackdown, but because it can last so long, it can deal consistent damage with Smackdown. Bronzong will probably be running Confusion, which is a very strong fast move. Its charge moves, on the other hand, aren't that great and will take a lot of time to charge up. So the majority of its damage is going to be from those Confusions. Now, Kingdra also falls in that category where its charge moves just take forever to charge. So you're going to be mostly relying on its fast moves. Even when it gets those charge moves off, unless you bring it in as a closer, it's just not going to get too many charge moves off. For my practice battles, I've only been able to get 1 charge move off with Kingdra. So it's going to be relying on either Waterfall or Dragon Breath the majority of the time. Blaziken. Now, Blaziken it is really close to that middle section where it uses fast and charge moves, but I found that you're not going to be relying on it as much. Its two charge moves I recommend are Brave Bird and Overheat. At least that's what I'm running. I may TM it later, but that's what I'm running right now. I found that counter will be the main damage dealer, because the reason why you bring Blaziken in is mainly for Lucario and Bastiodon. It can also deal decent damage to Melmetal, but other than that, like, it'll deal neutral damage to almost everything else while getting neutral damage done back to it. That fire typing really hurts it against Lapras or Kingdra, because it's taking super effective damage back, possibly. Those are the Pokemon that rely on fast moves. Now we're gonna move over to the right side. I have Alolan Marowak, I have Melmetal, I have Torkoal, and I have Flygon. Now, Torkoal might fit more in the middle, I think, but from my experiences, I feel like it belongs in this section at least. So let's start with Alolan Marowak. So Alolan Marowak can run two different fast moves, which are Rock Smash and Hex. Hex is going to charge energy up much faster, but Rock Smash has very favorable matchups in this meta and in this cup. So with Rock Smash, it's going to be charging energy slower, so it's going to become more of a specialist. And when I say specialist, it's going to be a specialist against maybe Bastiodon, Lucario, and Blaziken. Everything else is going to take neutral damage too, so you're not going to be using it as much. And if you run into almost anything else, it's going to melt. With that said, if you run Hex, it becomes more of a generalist. Like, it can be put in and it can kind of hold its own against almost anything else, because it charges one of its two charge moves up faster. Those two charge moves are probably going to be Bone Club and Shadow Ball. Those are the two charge moves that I was testing out. And Bone Club is a very bad move, but in this meta, it becomes pretty good because it deals super effective damage against so much steel and fire. So you're going to be running it. It also charges the fastest, so it's great for baiting shields, which if you're going to use Alolan Marowak, most of the time you're going to be relying on baiting shields. And if you're not, then you're always going to get your Shadow Balls blocked. So keep that in mind. Shadow Ball is going to be the main damage dealer in the charge move section, so that's why I put it in the charge moves section on the right side. Melmetal, so it's going to be running Thunder Shock, which charges energy super fast, but it doesn't deal very much damage, and it's also just going to be resisted by a lot of Pokemon. Flygon, Steelix, Bastiodon, like, it's just going to not do much damage, and it doesn't do much damage by itself anyways. You're mostly going to be relying on Rock Slide and Thunderbolt, so those are the two charge moves that you're probably going to have on Melmetal. And I found that Rock Slide, you're going to be using Rock Slide the majority of the time, because the reason why I use Thunderbolt is to counter water types, but the reason why you'd be using Thunderbolt is to counter water types, but the only water types in my image is Kingdra, that can't be countered by Rock Slide, which charges faster. So most of the time you're going to be using Rock Slide anyways. Let's move over to Flygon. So Flygon, I tested out Mud Slap, and I had Dragon Claw and Earthquake. So as you know, Mud Slap charges energy 4.5 energy per turn, which is the highest in the game right now in PvP. So Dragon Tail deals dragon damage, right? It'll hit those dragon types for super effective damage. Altaria, Dragonair, Kingdra, and it'll deal neutral damage to almost everything else in the meta or in this cup, right? Other than steel types. So now the other move, Earthquake. You need Earthquake to deal super effective damage to Bastiodon. So the reason why you have Flygon is mainly to counter Bastiodon, Melmetal, and in a lesser case, Steelix. Everything else, pretty much Flygon falls to. Even Lucario, which is weak to ground, it deals so much damage really fast to Flygon that it's not a very viable counter to Lucario. Flygon sits in a interesting space. You can also try running Stone Edge on it, which would make it more, I guess, scary. It would make it scarier to, let's say, Altaria, Charizard. But yeah, those are your options. I don't think there's a right option, but I do suggest Mud Slap, Dragon Tail, and Stone Edge. So moving to Torkoal. So I don't have the candies for Torkoal, but I wanted to try it out and I did. So what I was running was Fire Spin and Earthquake. So the cool thing about Torkoal is that it's a pure fire type with a ground move. So the fast move gets you the damage on, let's say, Lucario or a Melmetal or things that are steel that are weak to fire. And it has that ground attack of Earthquake, which deals huge damage. So, and it has decent bulk for a fire Pokemon. In general, fire Pokemon are pretty squishy, so they can only take so much damage before they faint. So Torkoal is kind of one of those tankier fire Pokemon that can stay long enough to get those charge moves off. So that's why I put Torkoal in this charge move section. You mainly want to use Torkoal as a closer with nuke ability, as in like it deals heavy charge move damage. Otherwise, if those charge moves just get blocked, then you're really relying on those fire spins to deal as much damage as you can. And don't get me wrong, that might be okay, but I would say the power of Torkoal lies within its charge moves and its tankiness to get those charge moves off. So that's it for the charge moves section. Let's get to the middle section. So this middle section deals with Pokemon that have decently strong fast attacks, but their charge moves are also really good and can, I don't know, still do damage, and you're not completely reliant on either the fast move or the charge move. They're a little bit more balanced. So the first one is Altaria. What do I have to say about Altaria? Pretty much it just deals tons of good damage, has good bulk so that Dragon Breath can deal a lot of damage, and its Sky Attack deals great damage, mostly neutral damage to everything in the meta outside of Steel Pokemon. So that's Altaria or Altaria. Yeah, moving along, we have Steelix. So this is one of my favorite Pokemon to use. It's great. It was great in the Tempest Cup. Probably won me the tournament, honestly. But the movesets hasn't changed. Dragon Tail, Crunch, and Earthquake for me at least. It's a great Altaria counter. It can counter Bastiodon pretty well with its Earthquake and a fast charge move. And it has great bulk, so you can charge those charge moves. So that's why I like Steelix. It can also mess with your opponent by being able to bait shields, which will allow you to get those heavy hitting Earthquakes off. Moving right along, we have Charizard. So Charizard kind of fits more in the fast move category, but you do have to worry about the charge move because it has 2 charge moves in I think Dragon Claw and Blast Burn. So Blast Burn obviously will deal tons of damage, whether it be not very effective, super effective, or even neutral. It has knockout potential no matter what Pokemon it faces. So if you get hit by an unshielded Blast Burn, it's just going to deal heavy damage. But Fire Spin is going to deal a good amount of damage as well, so that's why it's in the middle category. Lapras, I mentioned it in the opener, that I think Lapras is one of the best Pokemon in this cup. It has so many positive matchups that I think it fits perfectly in this cup, and it's so versatile that you almost need one in this cup, and I highly suggest you getting one. Whether it be Water Gun, Ice Beam, Surf, or Ice Shard, Ice Beam, Surf, it really depends on the rest of your team composition. I do suggest you testing it out and finding out which one works best for you. The next one is Dragonair. This one's a little bit more of a utility Pokemon. It has not, I would say Altaria has better bulk, but with its charge move of Aqua Tail, it fits into kind of a great lead because it doesn't have too many negative matchups. The negative matchups, completely negative matchups, I would say is like Ice Shard Lapras, or maybe a Celio or something like that. Also, I didn't include Celio because I don't think Celio has a great spot in this meta, but prove me wrong. I tested it out, I didn't like it that much, so I felt like Lapras was a better option in this cup. But that's Dragonair. It also has Dragon Pulse in case you come across, I don't know, like an Altaria or a Kingdra, maybe even a Flygon. You might be able to have that energy charged up and ready to hit one of those Pokemon with a Dragon Pulse. But the majority of time you will be using Aqua Tail, so keep that in mind. And lastly but not least, we have Lucario. Lucario fits in between Fast and Charge. Although it has counter just like Blaziken, it has Power Up Punch. So Power Up Punch charges extremely fast compared to like Brave Bird or Overheat or Focus Blast. And it not only deals a decent amount of fighting type damage, it also powers up Lucario itself. And not only does it have Power Up Punch, it has Shadow Ball, which will deal tons of damage to any Pokemon that does not block it. So those two combined, it can bait shields, it can deal heavy damage with Shadow Ball, it can deal great damage with counter, great fast damage with counter. So it's just a great overall Pokemon, but the only thing is with Lucario is that it is extremely squishy. If it runs into a Blaziken, a fire Pokemon, or a ground type Pokemon, it will melt. So that's something to keep in mind. That, like, although Flygon doesn't deal ground damage fast enough, so you definitely need to counter Lucario. You have to have some way to knock it out, otherwise it will run through your team. If it gets those power-up punches out of the way, then your team will melt to the counters and his other power-up punches, and you'll just fall super fast. That's pretty much it, guys. That's my observations for the Kingdom Cup. Look forward to my practice battles in the near future. I'm going to be uploading those probably soon, maybe tomorrow, maybe later today. But yeah, if you guys aren't already subscribed, make sure you guys do that. Make sure you like this video and stay tuned. Till next time, guys, this is Best in West. I'll catch you guys later.